Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to today's conversation. We're so excited to be here. I'm Enolia, and I'm here with my co-host, Sarah Jane,
Hiya.
and we're here. Yes. And we're here with our beautiful guest, Tammie Watson. Tammie, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. And so today's conversation is going to be life worth living, CPR, getting unstuck and living your life. And I'm so excited to be here with you, Tammie, because Tammie is a coach amongst phenomenal and grand energy. So, Tammie, I'm going to have you introduce yourself just a little.
Hey, hello everyone. My name is Tammie Watson. I am super excited to be here. I am a mother of four, the wife of a retired Marine. I love meeting new people, hearing their journey. But here's the one thing I want you all to know, that everyone here has a gift, no matter whether we believe it or not. And I believe our journey is learning how to unwrap, discover, and share that gift with others.
It's so beautiful. And I know that when you talked about the fact that you wanted to do life worth living, CPR, I know that that CPR stands for something very specific. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about the foundation of your work and what that means?
So I heard this in church before. You're either going into something, coming out of something, or getting ready to go into something. And as a young child, I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about. I never experienced it. I mean, whether life was hard or not, I was able to go through life and really just see all the good things. But there was a time in my life where I say it was like a 7-year storm. And we were hit financially, family wise, in all areas. And so I felt like I needed resuscitation. I felt like I was dying and someone needed to hit on my chest and give me resuscitation. And so that's where that all came from. I went to an event. It was a leadership event, and I met a lot of other people. And what I realized was I was not alone. We are not alone. We think our challenges might be unique. We believe that where we are may be unique, and it's not. And so coming out of that particular leadership program, I realized that everybody's life is worth living. And whether you're stuck, unsure, or wherever you are in life, sometimes we need that resuscitation. And the resuscitation CPR stands for, first of all, we all know CPR means, being able to, I forgot the actual meaning for it now, but the resuscitating somebody's not breathing. And so that's the same thing in our journey in life, whether we're not breathing or we're just not moving forward because we're stuck. We need some resuscitation. And so that stands for clarity, being clear on, first of all, what we want. A lot of times we don't get those things because we're not clear. The R stands for CP, I'm sorry, the P first. P stands for purpose. That's why it was messing up. Plan of action and purpose. We have to know what that plan of action is. I can be clear that I want this particular thing, but if I don't put a plan in place, I'm still stuck. And then the last one is resolve, making sure that we have the resolve to stick through it. I mean, the good times, the bad times, the hard times, whatever else, do I have the resolve to continue on? And my favorite verse, and I'll pass it back to you, Nolia, is Ecclesiastes 9:11. The race is not won to the swift, the strong, the mighty, or knowledgeable, but he or she that endures. The question is, do you have staying power?
Sarah Jane.
Absolutely. We all go through stuff. And for a lot of us, we don't have to go through exactly the same experiences. It's the feelings and the energies and how we feel about ourselves. That there are so many of us that have those similar feelings, those insecurities, etc., etc. And so having the courage that many of us are doing, like we're doing here, to share our story, to share our wake-up call, to share our experiences, how we felt about things, our different, how we lived our lives because of things that happened to us and we didn't understand. It's that story that when people listen to the story and then listen to how you felt and how it left you feeling, and that can be what they resonate with. Yeah. So the story, we don't want to live in our story, and it's getting to that stage, that part in our lives where we can say, we can tell our story, and I can tell mine almost with a grin on my face, and trust me, it was not anything to laugh about, but it doesn't hold any power over me anymore. Right. And that's the important part, is that being able to step out of that. And only just literally done another program just before that, was comfort zone. And for me, that time got so uncomfortable. My comfort zone wasn't comfortable anymore. And what I realize now is that to step outside my comfort zone was to step back into myself, to learn to love me, to learn to be true to me, to the things I wished to experience in life. And so stepping out of my comfort zone was being true to me. So absolutely, clarity, this is my life. And yeah, being able to do what I needed to do, I had to have, right, and I just had to do it. End of the marriage, that's it, it's over. And what came afterwards? Because I stuck to it, resolve, absolutely. And sometimes we have to do that. It feels like your world's falling apart. But as Neil Donald Walsh says, perhaps when everything's falling apart, it is actually falling together. Yeah, and that so resonates with me.
I love that quote.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna just even capitalize on that, because for me, you know, here I am living my life, okay? And when I started reflecting over my life, and I realized that all of the different lessons that I had learned and gleaned, getting through the stories that I should have been stuck in or were stuck in, and finally had a breakthrough moment, I didn't get that clarity until I started writing. And when I started writing my book, because my book is like a self-help memoir, and I didn't start writing the stories. I started writing the lessons that I had learned from the stories, absent of the story. Okay? Because I had like this understanding, this coming into myself of understanding and knowing that, okay, this was the lesson I was supposed to glean. And when I didn't glean it the first time, the situation may have changed slightly, but it repeated itself. And when I didn't glean it the second time, the situation might have changed again, but it repeated itself. And until I started making the right decisions, the situation kept repeating itself. So making the right decision was taking responsibility, taking ownership of my part in the situation, not just passing the blame on, not being the perpetrator, perpetrating the rescuer, perpetrating the victim, however you want to perpetrating. Okay. And basically facing myself in the mirror, saying, this was my role. This is where I should have made a different decision. This is where I could have changed my life. This is the pattern I'm stuck in. This is where I keep repeating it. And this is where I keep going down the same rabbit hole. And when I started writing that down, because I wanted to help others look at my story and learn from my story and not repeat my story, and if by hearing my story and learning from it, they could skip this step, I wanted to get it out there. So for me, when I wrote my book, the writing gave me the clarity. The writing helped me self-reflect over, okay, this is the hills and turns and twists and paths that I followed. And here's where I finally got it. The light bulb went on. And then to turn around and say to the public, when did the light bulb go on for you? So the question I'm going to ask everyone is, when and how did clarity come for you through the CPR process, maybe in your life journey to even be able to create the CPR process? When and how does that clarity come for you?
So great question. And first I have to give it back to you, because that's how we connected, because your story is just so beautiful and so strong, that I think that's how people are able to connect and realize, oh my gosh, her light is shining and I can do the same thing. As I reflect for myself, I think about being a mom, being a wife, being a sister, being whatever else. We as women sometimes give so much of ourselves and we don't keep our own cup full. And so when I started going through this process, my cup was near empty. And I was reaching and I was praying and I was trying to figure out help and didn't know how or where it was coming from. And so in the midst of a storm, us losing our property and through the real estate market crash, marriage being challenging, kids turmoil, leaving corporate America, trying to be an entrepreneur. I mean, it was like I had everything going on at once. And as a trooper, sometimes we as women, we put that on our shoulder, like, okay, we're going to let my emotions go and I'm going to keep pushing through. But there eventually came a point when I asked God a question and he answered it. And so I wasn't sure if I was ready for it, but when he gave it to me, my world turned upside down. At that time, my husband and I actually separated. And the funny thing was, you guys, in the midst of that, fear came in. And no matter where we are, fear will come in. And the fear was, he's like, well, babe, if we separate, we're never going to get back together. And my fear, oh my God, we'll never get back together. We never know what God's plan is. And so I attempted to try to rekindle, and everything inside of me said, no, you can't. And so I discovered myself. I discovered who I am. When you're able to get clear on who you are and love you for who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, everything God has made you, you see things differently. You walk differently. You accept those challenges that you talked about, Enolia, differently. And so if I repeat those challenges, it's no more, dang on it, Tammie, you repeating it again. Shame on you. It's more of, you know what? Okay, Lord, I'm repeating this again. Let me know why. Show me.
Yeah.
And let me embrace it, you guys. It's a journey. This big thing is a journey. And that's probably my biggest clarity, is that 7-year storm, you guys, allowed me to just see things so differently. I'm more patient. I've gone through a lot with my children, and I just always see the best in them. And they're like, well, we know to talk to mom because she's a rainbow and unicorn type of girl. But it's not that. I just see you in the same eyes that God see you. So, but yeah, that's how I was able to kind of get through it and get clear and just, enjoy the journey that I'm on and just continue to press forward.
Beautiful. Sara Jane.
It was the wake-up call. And I really do refer to them as being a wake-up call. And when you've been a people pleaser for so many years because of your insecurities, and then you are so exhausted. So exactly what you were sort of saying about absolute exhaustion. I hadn't, 6 months of pain and sleepless nights because of what happened is absolutely no way to be. People pleaser, gratefully I didn't have children. People pleaser, run a home, full-time job, and I was studying accountancy at the same time as well. And something had to give. The studying gave, the people pleasing gave, and eventually the marriage gave as well. And actually, so did the job go in the end. So it was just like it was everything. So it was, but it was me having that courage because I was so exhausted, because I couldn't do it anymore. And it was, and I know I've shared this before, it was that standing in the kitchen one day and thinking, why am I worrying about what other people think about me when they're not? They have got so much going on in their own lives. They are not thinking about me. And even if they are, it doesn't matter. It's none of my business, as it's Anthony Hopkins. It says it's none of my business what other people think of me. And it is so true. There are so many amazing quotes out there, folks. Open to them, listen to them, because there is so much truth in them. And I love seeing things like that because they are a great reminder to me, as much as I may have seen them time and time again. Every time I see them, they are a nudge. If you're watching this and you've gone through an awful lot in your life and you're thinking, yes, there may be something we say that is a reminder of something that may have happened at the beginning of your journey that you've forgotten about. You may be listening to this as the first thing you've ever listened to, and hopefully it'll give you the courage to take. You don't have to leave a relationship. You don't have to leave a job. Actually, my job went. I got made. It all came at roughly at the same time. We were going to be made redundant. Yes, because I hated the job anyway. But it was such a gift. And when you have the courage to take the step, to step into your own choices and honoring yourself, it's amazing what the universe will bring you. It can help clear the way. It can just help bring those things to you. And it's being open to that and trusting that sometimes we are the ones that have to let go for the universe then to be able to bring what is waiting for us.
I wanted to say I so agree with that. Because for me, when I was at the height of my corporate career, and I had this longing in my heart. And see, when I coach, I always talk about how, the bubble of fear is my comfort zone, right? Fear isn't fear. Fear is my comfort zone, right? It's where I like to operate, that I have all of the boundaries, and I'm like it's like a circle and I'm in the middle. And these are my boundaries. And here's where I like to operate and everything's good. And then the heart desire comes in, and heart wants to go past those boundaries. And you go, oh, no, 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 no. This is where I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable here. I don't want to surpass those boundaries. I surpass those boundaries. I don't know what's going to happen. If I don't know what's going to happen and I can't plan my day the way I feel that it should be planned, that's an alert. That's an alarm. That's a red flag. No, 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 no. I have to be in control of these things. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny because until I honored my soul's calling, and my soul is that longing in your heart. So if you're doing a job and you don't really like it and you long to do something else, you're not honoring your soul. You're not honoring your heart's desire. If you are in your marriage and you know that things could be better if you just sat down and had that hard conversation, but you're afraid to have the hard conversation because you're afraid of the outcome. Again, you're in fear, you're in your comfort zone. I don't want to go out because I don't know what that outcome could be. And it could be something I don't desire, I don't like. And so instead of facing it, I'm just avoiding it. But you're miserable while you're avoiding it. All of those things, and those are just a couple of examples, all of those things is this culmination of not honoring what my soul is calling for. And so for me, and I'm tapping into your plan of action. My plan of action was just simply to honor my heart's calling in some way, respect, or form. So for me, here I was in a corporate job, aspiring to people that which I didn't even care for. And when I say care for, I didn't like what they represented or stood for in terms of their values. It wasn't me. And it was fine for them. Wasn't me. And when you come to a precipice in your life and you're going, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? How did I get here? You have to step back out of the emotions, because that means the emotions have been leading way too long, because the emotions are a distraction. They're the distraction that takes you off the path to say, this is why I'm walking the path. They're great to get rid of the frustration while you're dealing with the challenges, but they're a distraction if they overwhelm you, because then you're not getting that clarity. It takes you away from the clarity. So the plan of action was, how do I honor my soul's calling? How do I honor my heart's desire? How do I honor that journey? And how do I call into a plan of action to do so? And for me, that 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 boy, it was a journey because it the clarity didn't no, the ability to act on the clarity in a plan of action didn't come until I walked 100 miles across Africa.
Mm.
And I came back from that journey and I was like, I cannot sit here anymore. I want out.
Yeah.
I went out. I came back to work on a Monday. My last day was Friday. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do it anymore. I needed to honor. And I didn't know what it looked like on the other side. People go, you're insane. You're crazy. What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I had to take the leap. For me, it was taking the leap. So my question would be, how do you engage that plan of action when you know your heart is desiring, your soul is calling, and there you are in the midst trying to glean that clarity. You have line of sight of what you want. And this is where people have the greatest fear.
Yeah.
Because it takes them out of their comfort zone. It takes them beyond that boundary. And, as we coach, because all of us are coaches and all of us have that plan of actions, all of us have our ways of doing it. So how do you do it, Tammie?
And that was a great question. When you were saying that, I was going to ask you the same question.
I'll answer it for you.
And the reason why, because a lot of times people think that, there's a burning bush or something happens. And then once that decision happens, it's like, oh, you're walking down a yellow brick road. And it's not. It's not that. And so, and I wanted you to elaborate on that because, and I mean, all of us to elaborate on that because it's not that. Where did that clarity come from? And when you took the steps forward, what were the challenges that also came with that? And I'll go first. I don't mind going first, but I just wanted to make sure we address that as well, because I think sometimes when we look at people like, oh my gosh, it was, one day she did this. And there was twice for me. The first time was when I made a decision to leave corporate America. My husband was in the military, so he was gone a lot. I had 2 babies at home, and my oldest of the 2, I would come home exhausted and I would watch her take care of her baby brother. And I could not do that one anymore. And for me, a lot of times I act on, I'm going to say, an intuition. And so for me, that step was, I went into my manager and I said, you know what? I know you've tried to work with me and the job was getting a little bit more stressful. And I just said, you know what? This is not something I can do anymore. I was looking at my kids. I was looking at my health, and I made the decision. The second one was when me and my husband separated. There was no quote unquote plan of action. That happens after you take the leap of faith. And when I told him we needed to separate, and although he said, it's going to end if we don't get back together, I had to stay with what was inside, you guys. It was, some people say it's a burning bush or they heard a voice or whatever else. For me, my body just shook until it said, if you go back, I was so tense until I said, okay, no, I can't do it. And so sometimes it's listening to the small cues that are there. Now, when I talk about the challenges that happen with that, me choosing to leave a great corporate America job and to stay at home with my kids and become an entrepreneur, that was almost plus 100K that was lost. So think about the income, the ramifications of that. The other part with the separation of my husband and me, there were ramifications of my kids not seeing their father. It was a lot. It was hard. It was a hard 2 or 3 years for that part. And when I talk about when I left my corporate job and I said it was a 7-year storm, it started from that decision. So it's not an easy thing. But in the midst of those things, me finding out that I'm an entrepreneur was developed from that. Me having my children not know what it feels like for a mother to go to work because I was there cooking breakfast and there when they came home. Those were the fruits that came from those decisions. All of them, good and bad, those were all fruits that made me who I am today. and I would not change it for anything. And one other thing you said, Enolia, was a lot of people looked at you like you were crazy. A lot of times when those decisions happen, people think we have nervous breakdowns, we've lost our minds, or whatever else it is, because it makes no sense whatsoever. So, great question.
Yeah. Sara Jane.
100% agree. 100% agree. My mother's reaction when I rang her and said the marriage is over was, look at what you're giving up. We had a £5,000 mortgage, period. And we had that money sat in the bank. We had 3 holidays away a year. We owned our cars. We owned everything. We had no debts. Mm. And my mother's reaction, look at what you're giving up. And it was just like, this has got nothing to do with things. This has everything to do with me.
Yeah.
And it was just like, that didn't particularly go down well. Sarah, you're going to regret this in 2-3 years' time. You're obviously going through an early menopause. I knew it was exactly what I needed to be doing. It was being true to myself for the first time ever. And yes, there were people that really struggled with it. And when I actually sat him down and said, oh, by the way, the marriage is over, I had no idea where I was even going to be sleeping that night. Mm. Actually, I was allowed to stay in the spare bedroom for a couple of months. Then it was just like, this really isn't working, because we were still in the same house. But until you take that step, you have no idea. Then as I was going into a rented property, we all got told the company had been taken over. We were going to, we would eventually get made redundant. But what it actually resulted in was me moving down to where I live now. Because that's where the company's based. I didn't stay with them. They helped me get down here without realizing just how much. But it was the universe put so much in place. I can look back and I can genuinely see the flow from that decision to be true to me. And there was no plan of action. It was, oh my God, he's about to spend £1,000 on something that I just can't do it. I can't do this anymore. And so I had to stop him from spending that £1,000, because we're talking 25 years ago. So, £1,000 is a lot of money today, but it was considerably more then. And it was just like, no, I had to put pay to that. It would just been a waste of money, because I couldn't stay. But it was the catalyst that got me to have the courage following the wake-up call. So this was like 10 months later, have the courage to be true to yourself. Plan of action, I'm not good at plan of actions, never have been. I admit it. I go with the flow. I am one of these people, it's just, I trust the process. And more as the years have gone on, from that courage, I trust the process. When I learned Reiki, I trusted the process. My life has changed beyond all recognition. I haven't changed, I've grown. And I think it's not about changing, it's about growing into who you are. Loving yourself, no judgment, compassion for yourself, understanding for yourself. Getting to know who you are.
So I'm sitting here thinking about how I'm going to answer this question. And I was thinking about why I did what I did. So for me, I think the stimulation, what really, I had always had this longing in my heart. Like I thought I wanted to climb the corporate ladder. I was well on my way doing the best that I could. And I had this longing in my heart of wanting to do something different. Longing, longing, longing. And I think that what brought that to real fruition was that health. So, I'm doing 80-hour weeks,
Mm-hmm.
right? I have 2 kids, and I'm doing the superwoman syndrome, right? So here I am. I'm working from 8 to 5, come home, pick up the kids, cook dinner, get everything set, get the kids in the bed by 7 or 8 o'clock because they're babies still. They're very young. Double back to work until midnight, come back home, take care of me, sleep for 4 hours, start all over again, right? Putting 80 hours of work. And then, somewhere in between there, I did my master's degree. And when the doctor, when I went to a chiropractic adjustment, the doctor's like, what's that lump in your neck? And blah, 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 blah. And I was so out of my body. I was so out of myself that I didn't even recognize my system shutting down because it was my lymphatic system. So that was one real red flag, right? And what I write my book about is that I had this longing in my heart. I met my first indigenous grandmother Isabel Milwaukee, went to her place. We hit it off. She said, if you really, really, really want to, learn from me, because I wanted to learn from her. And I don't know why. I'm just like something different. Come back the next year and, bring some friend. And I brought 22 women to make sure that she was having this retreat. I'm like, woman, knocking on doors. You got to come with me. We're going to have a great time. And I went there 10 days early. And what she did is she showed me another way of life, a way of life that I could be in balance with nature, a way of life of how to look at things differently, a way of life that brought me peace and harmony in terms of how I was living with people, with the environment, with the balancing of what I wanted versus what I needed. She helped me find my peace. And when I stepped foot off of her place after that, it was like 3 weeks with her. I didn't realize how high my vibration was. I could noticeably feel the difference being in nature every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Getting up, getting out of the house, going to a place before the sun rose, sitting there, watching the sun rise. In nature, seeing the colors of the sun, seeing the mist on the plants as they shine from the sunrise. Like these moments of clarity that I've never had before. And that's when I realized that my life had to shift. And so the question was, do I dare make it shift? Do I dare step into it? When I look at your CPR, my resuscitation was the moment that I dared to step into my truth, which was what I was doing was killing me.
Mm-hmm.
I may have gotten what I desired, but it was killing me.
It's the cost, yeah.
It was the cost completely. So the resuscitation for me was the owning of, this is killing me. I've got to shift my life. It's going to impact everybody because I'm the mother, I'm the matriarch, I'm the focal point. My husband and I wanted 2 different things. We are best of friends to this moment. We just wanted 2 different things, and we agreed to it in a beautiful communication. Sharing that with our sons, together, and then stepping up, crossing the country from New York to California, and learning how to live with myself and start all over again. And the first question I had to ask myself is, okay, I have to stop lying to myself. What is it I truly love? What do I love? What is my strength? And then can I embrace that and then make it my life? And that's where I came up with the coaching. And I had always coached in corporate. I was a corporate coach, along with designing computer networks. So I mentored many women. It was a strength. And so to take the corporate mentoring, take the indigenous teachings and teaching compassionate leadership, and teaching it from a different perspective. Yes, you can have this, you can have it all, but here's how to balance it. Here's how to stick to your truth and your integrity. Okay? Here's a different point of view. Here's how to source from your own power, not looking external to yourself. Is what saved my life. A different point of view that I learned from the indigenous. And it had been there all along. And what did they teach me? They taught me self-mastery. They taught me to look inside. They taught me to stop looking external to myself. Everything that we share, we teach and everything, but they just taught me in their way. And so I always say that, I always say that there are many roads to one. It doesn't make one road wrong, one road right, and the other road, like if I do it this way, yours is wrong. And if you do it that way, yours is wrong. The other person's wrong. No, there are many ways that we can all get to that center of peace.
Yeah.
And that center of peace, that connection to source that just makes you say, I arrived. And when I arrived, I wanted to share that. So my livelihood was, here's my life. Here's how I got here. Here's how I can coach you to find that same peace and centering if you want it. And, I'm satisfied when I see other people successful.
Right.
That's what saved me. So what was your respiratory moment?
I think it was when I was just empty. And I couldn't do it anymore. I did go through a little depression. And, God put enough people around me when my girlfriends would come grab the kids and I would just stay in the bed. But there eventually came a point when I realized that my life was worth living, which is where my business came from as well. And then I bought this ring. I don't know if you can see it on my finger or not, but yes. It's a little ring. I bought it and it just says, God thinks you're perfect. He thinks you're to die for. And so it reminds me each and every day that I am perfect. And I not only want to experience everything that God has for me, but I want other people to be able to know and understand that as well. And I'm a firm believer that it starts at home first and foremost. So I remind my kids each and every day, no matter how far off they get off from the tree, that they are wonderful and what I see in them. And it's so challenging growing up in these days. And so when I look at my girls sometimes, they're like, Mom, you're just saying it because I'm your daughter and whatever else it is. And it's not that. It's just that God has allowed me to see them with his eyes. He allows me to see other people with his eyes. And so when I see them with his eyes, my thought is, how can I help you see yourself with these eyes? How can you begin to see how amazing you are and that the world is actually your oyster and that there's so much out there that you can achieve? And so that balance is probably the biggest thing, because we look at, the things that we want, and we got Facebook and all the other things out there. We have all those things out there and we compare, like, oh my gosh, look at that life. Look at what they're doing. They're so happy. And we forget to look at us. If I can keep my blinders on and keep my focus on the one, everything else, you guys, just flows. And I think when you can do that, and Enolia, what you're doing, I think is amazing, because you're teaching one to look inside yourself. Everything you need is inside. Right. When you start to go externally, that's when stress happens. That's when comparison happens. That's when you have lack. That's when everything else is going on. And why? But when we go internal, we realize that everything is working together for the good of him or her that loves the source.
Absolutely. Sara Jane.
I'm not really sure when that moment was, but when obviously I broke the marriage up, and I decided I'd like to go and see a psychotherapist, because I wished to understand why I had lived my life the way I had, why I'd been a people pleaser. I knew what had happened to me as a baby. And I absolutely knew that it was an accident. There was no blame. It was also circumstances, so there wasn't, that it wasn't about blaming anyone. It was about understanding my reactions and why I'd been the way I'd been being a people pleaser. And at that point in time, they decided to put me on Prozac and it was just like, actually, I'm finding me. This is the true me that's speaking. I don't need this. And I wasn't in a place to understand that if you're given pills, you don't have to take the blooming things. They didn't do a thing for me because I was actually starting to relax and feel happy anyway. And I don't think Prozac does that for you anyway. So I have no idea what it does because I don't think it did a thing for me. I got to see the psychotherapist for 10 months. That was it. And then because I moved, there was no going back. But she said to me on that last appointment, you have achieved in the 10 months what most people can't achieve in 2 years. That's because I was there to understand. It was about me. And when I moved down to Bournemouth and I had my own little house, and I sat on the stairs one day and I thought, what can I do for me? I can't learn massage because you can't massage yourself. And it didn't take long because I'd asked the question. So I just put it out there in the universe. And then I heard about Reiki. I heard about there was a psychic fair and a holistic fair happening that weekend. And my youngest sister said to me, go to the holistic fair, Sarah. I know you, the psychic fair's no good for you. And a friend and I went, and literally the person just inside the door, a lady called Angie, and she was sharing about a technique called metamorphic technique. She was also sharing about an angel day. And we got talking. And she also mentioned Reiki. And the first person you treat is yourself when you do your level 1. That was what I was looking for. And my whole intention was to do my level 1, and it was only ever going to be about me. Yeah, I'm a Reiki master teacher practitioner, and I've developed vocal Reiki as well. So, my life changed. I learned metamorphic technique. I've learned Indian head massage. I did my anatomy and physiology. My life changed because I asked that question, what can I do for me? I have never looked for somebody else to do the healing of me. When I went to the psychotherapist, it was for me to understand, not for anybody to tell me, but for somebody to support me, for me to understand.
Can I say? Oops, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, and it is. If the more we can tune into ourselves, and I know it's like tune into yourself, yeah, but it's about understanding ourselves and being true to ourselves. And when we can truly love ourselves, we can bring so much more to others. And that was the breathing life, not back into my life, but into my life, because I don't feel I'd been existing to that point. Now I feel I live my life.
Tammie, go ahead.
I was just going to say what I saw the common in each one of us. We asked a question. Yeah. We were seeking, and when you seek, you find. And you've got to be brave enough to not just seek, but to look and be open. If you weren't open to the fact when your sister said go to the holistic seminar, you would not have done that. If you weren't open to go to Africa and be taught, you wouldn't be where you are today. If I wasn't open to start off in that leadership program, I wouldn't have realized that it's not me. A lot of people are experiencing those things. And so, it's that question, when you seek, or when they say when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Mm, that is so, so true. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I cried for my teacher. I was like, please bring somebody into my life. And they didn't bring one somebody, they brought several somebodies, because people who know my story know that I've had Indigenous teachers all throughout my life. I still am meeting Indigenous teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Here I am, and I'm in Mauritius, Africa tonight, and I'm learning from a wonderful guru. Okay.
Oh.
Born and raised in Mauritius, but it's just like, oh my gosh, totally different approach, viewpoint, ideas, understandings, learnings, teachings, everything's so beautiful. And I can't get enough. I'm like,
right.
I just want to learn. I just want to learn. I just want to learn. God gives us so much richness, yet so many times we come with a narrow point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the three of us are sitting here because we've had the great fortune of expanding that view that started off maybe narrow, thinking that life has to go one way. And now for me, it's like, I can't stop looking 360 degrees. I'm always looking. I never look at things one way. I look at things so many different viewpoints, the same thing, so many different viewpoints. And I think that that's part of the art of what we all teach. So what would you share as a key learning or a key teaching to somebody out there listening to us tonight as we share about ourselves? Understanding that they are probably experiencing in one shape or form something that we've shared about in their life.
I would say the biggest thing is to be open. Open to every experience, whether we call it good, bad, or whatever else it is, but being open to that. I think about just some of the challenges that I've had even in through my own experience. And, people will ask, like, I'll just share and be honest. One of my daughters has attempted to commit suicide twice. And I'm sharing that because going through the experience, people are like, okay, you're not broken, or have you blamed yourself, or whatever else it is. And none of those things happened. Don't get me wrong. I did cry. I had my moments of weakness, but going through those things, I already still knew I was connected with God. And so the first time, I was just grateful that she came to me and shared it after it happened, and we were able to get her to the hospital. And the second time, I was grateful that she came back immediately. I didn't look at, oh my God, she's done it the second time, and whatever else. I looked at it as a blessing. What can you look at and be grateful for in every experience that you're going through? Sometimes it may be challenging, but in that, you guys, I look at, I'm grateful, and I'm looking at the fact that they're going to have an amazing testimony to be able to help other people through. That's what I look at when I'm going through things. And so it's a shift in perspective. It's a shift in understanding. It's a shift in realizing that there's a relationship and that everything happens for a reason, especially when we're aligning with the one. So,
yes. Sara Jane.
I couldn't agree more. I really couldn't agree more. It is learn to love yourself, to know that it absolutely not just okay, but essential to love yourself, to listen to your heart. What I'd say is your heart is your connection to your soul. Your soul is your greatest guide if you will be still and listen. intuition, things that seem to be coincidences. They aren't. It's synchronicity. Look at what's going on around you. Look at what's happening to you. Is there a reason? You may never know the reason, but if you're open to there being a good reason, fairly recently, I literally fell flat on my face when I was out walking my little niece's dog. No, my niece's little dog. Let's get that the right way around, shall we? Although she's not very big either. And I went flying. I landed smack on my nose. And my immediate reaction was, oh my God, I've broken my nose. Oh my God, where's the dog? Because he was on the lead and I haven't let him off the lead because he's not my dog. I haven't broken my nose. I have chipped my front teeth. I did bruise a wrist and a knee and cut my hand and bruised all my ribs. But I was meant to be going down to Devon that weekend. And I had that feeling that for some reason, whatever it might be, I wasn't meant to be on the road. Mm-hmm. And with a badly bruised knee and a badly sprained wrist, there was no way I was going to be able to drive. So I accepted it as it was a stall of some sort. A few years back, my mother's 80th birthday, and her best friend from school, who's my godmother, or was my godmother, she's passed since, bless her, she's a nun, or was a nun. And she rang me as I was just about to leave the house to go over to where we were having mum's party. She said, oh, what time is it? And I said, it's shortly. And she'd got to come from South Wales, all the way down to Bournemouth. And I said, you're not meant to be on the road. And she, do you know what? Even as a nun, she trusted that. There are times when there may be things you would really like to do. It was a family get together. I haven't seen some of that family for at least 2 years, probably longer. And I didn't get to see them other than by a video call because of my fall. There are things that happen that may feel just annoying. There is a reason behind them. See if you can find that reason, even if you still don't understand why. And it will make so much difference into the way you look at things. Just got on with everything. But I did have to, gratefully, a couple of people came along and did help me up because I couldn't get up off the ground, not with one wrist sprained and one wrist with cuts in it, hand with cuts in it. And I couldn't even kneel on one of the knees. So I, gratefully people helped me up. But I wasn't into, okay, poor me. It was just like, okay, it's happened. Get on with it. And I do.
Wow. So I would share that each one of us brings forward a gift. Mm-hmm. Every single one of us brings forward a gift. And you may be going through changes in your life and you may not recognize the fact that you are the gift. You are the gift. Mm-hmm. And if you can find it within yourself to bring your focus inwardly and understand that at the core of your being, if you were to strip away all of the roles that you play and the energy being that you are light and you are love. And if you allow that love and that light to shine through the roles that you put on, because see, the roles don't define who you are, you define what the roles are. And you define them by the being that you choose to be as you assume those roles. And if you can be that best version of yourself in assuming those roles, knowing at the core of your being that you are love and that you are light, and you can expand that viewpoint such that there's no such thing as one way. There are many roads to get to where you want to be. And if one doesn't suit you, dare to trust yourself and try another. Dare to take the leap. Dare to trust yourself and understand that you are worthy You are capable, you are intelligent, you are bright. And if your soul has been longing for it and you've been ignoring it, then what you're doing is you're ignoring your purpose. At a minimum, our purpose is to be the light that we are, to be the best version of who we are as we are. And then while being that best version, here's how we engage relationships. Here's how we engage the environment. Here's how we engage life. And that life will flow when we're doing it right.
Yeah.
So I would dare say, trust yourself. Know that you are the gift. Know that you already have a purpose. And the purpose is to bring forward the best version of who you are and do what you dare to do and love it. And love it to its fullest in that expanded view. Because there's many, many roads to any vision that we hold for ourselves. So I know that we're coming up on an hour, so I'm going to ask any last words before I share about wanting Tammie to share how she can be contacted. But Tammie, do you have any last words? And Sara Jane, do you have any last words? We'll start off with Tammie.
Tammie.
Last words, I would just say work on your mindset. I always do a podcast, and it talks about faith, hope, and love. Faith starts with our mind. It starts with believing, even when it's not even seeing there. And everything starts here. Hope, you guys, is our action. So it's that plan of action that we're talking about. So if I am looking to, I don't know, travel to Florida, I'm just making up something. What actions am I taking behind that? Have I looked what part of Florida? Have I looked at plane tickets? Have I done any activity that's going to happen? And the last is love. Love is the energy that she was just talking about. It's the energy that we bring. If I'm operating at a high frequency, it allows me to tune in. I look at love like a radio station. If I'm tuned in to the AM station, I'm not going to listen to my R&B or my country music or whatever else it is. I have to operate at the frequency for the things that I want to listen to. And that's the same thing with this, you guys. And it all ends with a grateful heart. Reminding ourselves each and every day, what are we grateful for? It can start off easy, but I promise you this, no matter if you're in a bad situation, if you begin to think about the things that you're grateful for, it's very hard to stay there. And thanks for letting me share.
Sara Jane?
I would just say, have faith, belief, and trust in yourself. Love yourself. And know that when you act from your heart, you are doing exactly what you are here to do. That may be just one kind word to someone. Not everybody here is to do great things. But if we do it with great love, even the smallest things become great.
And I would say that you are the gift and you are the light. So be the beacon, be the representation of knowing that as I shine, others can shine by my example.
Yeah.
And if I can shine and be that example, then I can have the ripple effect and be the pebble that's dropped in the ocean or in the water and ripple it out and ask you to pay it forward. Don't come back to me. Just keep paying it forward and let the impact be that contribution to humanity. So with that said, I just want to say a few words. Tammie, people don't realize how phenomenal a coach that you are. I mean, this woman, I'm listening to her coach. She's like, everybody, get up. We're going to dance. She gets you moving. She gets you smiling. She gets you just out of your comfort zone and into life. Will you please share about your practice a little bit before we head out, and just how people can reach you and how people can contact you, and ensuring that you capture it all?
All right. Awesome. So, it's called Life Worth Living. Like I said, I have 3 processes. The first one is CPR, where that is a one-on-one coaching. I do have Better Lives, We Live Better Together, where that's group coaching. But then the third one is BELT, Building Extraordinary Living Together. And that's talking about not just personal living, but financial. And you can reach me on Facebook at Tammie Watson on Facebook. And you guys, my website is down. So I'll leave my number. I don't mind talking to anybody. I'm just that open and connected with people. So if you want to reach out, if you want to chit chat, you want to talk, my number is 760-822-8767. Coach T is what they call me. And I believe that, that you have greatness inside of you.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to just give my own plug too, and then turn it over to Sara Jane to close us, which is that Enolia Foti, Enolia.live, and that I have my book. My book is something that I want to just like put out there. It's called Enolia, How I Found My Voice with My Grandmother Elder, and the comparable journal that goes with it that does a summary of every chapter so you can learn the lessons learned from my life story. And then I have questions in that journal that pose to you as the audience so that you can learn and then ask the questions of yourself. And then an affirmation after every chapter that just basically gives you something that you can just embrace and embark on to bring richness, gratefulness, humility, and love into your life. So that's my big plug. And Sara Jane, who are we going to have on today's conversation?
Thank you, Tammie. Thank you, Enolia, for the conversation today. It has been amazing and has been powerful, and I hope you've enjoyed it, folks. I will make sure that the information is under. You're watching this on YouTube. I'll make sure the information is underneath. And Tammie, as soon as your website's up, let us know. We'll make sure I put it under there for you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Next week, a fortnight's time. Let's get it right. Next week, I'm doing a program and I'm doing a sharing and meditation. So fortnight's time, 27th of July, Love and Compassion, Moving Toward the Light with Linda Linda, my apologies, Marsaniko. Thank you. I got it right there eventually. Linda, she's joining us. So that's going to be in a couple of weeks' time. If you want to connect with any of us, giftofhealingtv@gmail.com, and I will forward information on to anybody via email. That's not a problem at all. Put a comment on the Gift of Healing TV website, because you'll find all of these programs on that website under today's conversation. There's a special section for it there. So please don't hesitate. Any messages put onto the website have to come through me. So if you want them kept private, please tell me you wish them to be kept private, and I will not publish them, but I will then pass them on to whoever you'd like me to pass them on to. So please don't hesitate to do that as well. So please, folks, take care, be safe, stay well, and thank you so much to our guest, Tammie, and to my co-host, Enolia. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Namaste. Bye-bye.
Bye.